I wanted to come back so we can win a championship. I just stopped playing football after that and just switched to basketball. I ended up going to Puerto Rico. They had a bubble, like, which was a 2-month stint. Won a championship there. When I saw a kangaroo, that's when I knew, like, yeah, it's Australia. Because I play year round, so time is money. With having a family, it's like right now I gotta go what's gonna pay the bills.
Welcome back to another episode of The Huddle, and this is an exciting one, especially for the Red Army, because they've heard a lot about this man. He's been on a few podcasts lately, but we're going to deep dive into just what makes Kristian Doolittle who he is, and he joins me right now from over in the West. Mate, thanks for jumping on.
Thank you for having me.
Firstly, let's talk about the mood, I guess, in Perth overall. We know you've booked yourself in a semi-finals position against Melbourne United. A big break ahead, but how's the mood all around town?
Mood's great. We're happy to win our last game and playing it the way that we did. I feel like we were clicking for the vast majority of that game. Southeast was able to make it close after we got a big first quarter lead. But we didn't change how we played. It was a lot of fouls that game, so it's kind of tough to get in the rhythm, but with all the stoppage and stuff, I felt like we still played the type of basketball that we want to be playing at this time of the year. And unfortunately, I would prefer to just keep playing, because when you get that break, you kind of lose the rhythm that you create, that you can really only create through playing actual games. I mean, you can practice, and practicing is cool, but practice doesn't necessarily, you can't emulate a real game in practice no matter how hard you try. So but with that said, we're going to be well rested, just like United will be, and I'm looking forward to that series.
What do you get up to in these couple of weeks? Do you have a few more extra days off? Do you have an intra-squad scrimmage? Because it is tough, no doubt. I mean, Melbourne United will have a longer break as well, but both teams just sitting there. And are you going to get to a point, do you think, where you're sick of going against each other and you just want to hurry up and beat up someone else?
Yeah, that's what it was last year as well. We had the first round bye last year, so we had that even longer break, and after a while you start getting tired of going against your teammates. Things get trippy, because as you get more amped up as you get closer to the game, and so people are going hard. I feel like it's gonna be the same way this year as well, in terms of the intensity that we bring. With the longer stretch in between we play, we do get additional days off to allow us to rest and stuff like that, which is very beneficial. And then as we get closer to the game, we'll start ramping up the intensity.
We're going to chat a bit about your career, where it all began, and kind of break down what makes you who you are. But in terms of this play-in tournament overall, it's still very young in the NBL landscape. Are you a fan of it? Do you like how it makes every game down the stretch, every bucket so important, because you still had a chance to potentially finish second in the last round? You could have almost dropped to fifth. Is it easy to say that you might like it more now because you finished third?
I like it, but with the way that we finished the season, we controlled our own destiny. With losing to United and another quick loss to Cairns, I felt like we had the 2 seed locked up if we would have won out. So I can't necessarily say it's because of how the structure of the ladder is set up or orchestrated. I feel like we dropped the ball and put ourselves in that position to potentially fall even further. But things went our way, and we were able to secure the third and then advance as well. So I feel like with everything, we control our own destiny.
What's impressing you most by the way that your team's playing right now? Because you talked a little bit at the start of this about peaking at the right time. And again, I know it was hard to get momentum with the whistles and all the fouls called in that game, but you take out those couple of United and Cairns losses and even that road trip you had, and this team is playing some very good basketball.
Yeah, I feel like the biggest thing that we've been able to do is counter whatever team we play and whatever the game plan that they come out with. Understanding that Bryce is going to take a lot of attention, and they're going to try different things and different ways to make it difficult for him to score. But I feel like everybody else has been able to capitalize on the one-on-one matchups that we've been able to have, because of everyone that's sending 2-3 people at him. it's allowed people like myself and KP and Dylan and Henny to thrive and advantage opportunities, and we've been able to capitalize.
I catch you now, obviously, Si, you said your little one's going down for a sleep. So, on a personal note, where you are at right now, family wise and everything, how are you enjoying yourself in Australia?
I like it. Everything is going pretty well right now. My wife like it here, so everything is cool. I just care about the basketball. It's speaking for on the court, things been going fairly well. I've been playing pretty well. I've just been a little bit more aggressive. Like I said, speaking on the opportunities with my one-on-one matchup. A lot of teams are just guarding us straight up and not only sending help on BC. So, I just look at that as a, opportunity for me to go score for myself.
We know what kind of player on the court you talk about, especially defensively. We saw that last year, and I think it was understandably frustration from the Red Army and a lot of NBL fans in general that you weren't a finalist or up there for Defensive Player of the Year this year. But I want to talk about the offensive side because it seems, especially since you were dealing with that injury, since you came back, that you looked even more aggressive and maybe the game you understood a little bit more when you sat out watching it, or tell me what happened because it looked like something switched in your head.
Yeah, I just made the decision myself to be more aggressive.
Mm.
I feel like there are times to where I can have a greater impact than what I was doing. Kind of being, allowing somebody else to step up and make the plays. Understanding that I'm more than capable of doing so. And so now it's more. It's just like um, I'm looking at it as, especially with the playoffs. Regular season for me, regular season and playoffs are two different things. Um, Regular season was kind of where you find your, work out the kinks to get it fine tuned for the playoffs. And I know for my team to understand that I'm going to go score, I had to start showing that that's what I was going to be doing. And understanding that I'm a type of person to where if something's not going right, then I try to fix a problem. There are games where BC might not have it going, and I feel like that's where we lost. Our biggest thing from last year to this year is that if he doesn't have it going, we're not all going to sink. We have a lot of people who've been able to step up this year to take some of the pressure off of him and get timely buckets. And so for me, it's like I'm looking at somebody go guard me 1-on-1. If you're not gonna help, then I'll take my chances going 1-on-1.
You definitely look more comfortable on the court, but it also seems like you're very comfortable off it. Now, I've got it on pretty good authority that, well, firstly, when you first got here, you're very quiet personality. You let your play do the talking. Now, you've been mic'd up a couple of times this year, and I know you were when you're injured as well for the Perth Wildcats. But I've heard some rumors that around practice, around the locker room, that it's hard to shut you up. Is what's going on there? Is that true?
I wouldn't say it's hard to sum me up. I definitely I'm a quiet person. I know I'm not the loudest talking person in the room, nor will I talk the most, but I'm definitely more vocal. Me coming back here another year and getting more familiar with my teammates and the situation that I was in, I feel like it's just been like a weight lifted off my shoulders. So, last year I was kind of, guarded, not even since like I couldn't be myself, but because of what I had just gone through. It was just tough to, I feel like I had to be perfect in all situations. And so with that, I had to kind of just shield shield a lot of stuff and just accept whatever I could do. And so now when I came back this year, I had more of an emphasis to where I wanted to impact the game more because I know for me, I've won multiple championships and I know that what I can do on the floor, helps to win. And I feel like this year I've been, encouraged to do that. And so that comes with me. I'm just a natural leader. So I have to be vocal. I have to, engage with my teammates in practices in the games and stuff. So I feel like I'm just being more myself right now.
It's fascinating to hear you talk about, I guess, the mental side of it last year. And then we knew when you were announced at Perth Wildcats what you could potentially bring. And there's the little, I don't want to say it went viral, but it went semi-viral of you on the podcast recently talking about not really knowing where Australia was, not knowing much about
Yes.
Australia. But knowing all of that and understanding that you're taking this chance after what you've just been through in your basketball career, how do you deal with that mentally? Because it's one of the furthest places away you can get from the States.
Yeah, I mean, the distance wasn't a problem for me because I played in Japan, so that's not too far. It's kind of the same kind of distance in terms of travel time. So going away from home isn't a problem. It was more so like the biggest chance I felt that I took was, going into another organization to where I was just kind of getting thrusted into,
Mm.
what they already had going, missing the preseason and missing that time that you get to spend with the team to kind of feel how things go. I was doing that during the game, trying to figure out how things are going, in the practices as well, understanding your teammates' tendencies. There's just a lot of things that go into what a team is. And, I feel like I did the best that I could with the situation that I had. And, I just felt, because, last year is the first year I haven't won a championship all year. So, I was extra motivated. I've made it a personal, you know, goal of mine to come back and try to do more in all areas to help us win.
Well, you're definitely doing that. And as the Perth Wildcats were my preseason pick to win a championship, I hope you can come through because that would make me look good as well, man. So I appreciate that. Let's go back to where it all began growing up in Oklahoma. And I understand that your dad was a basketball referee. Is that where basketball first started for you?
Yes. I used to go to like his referee clinics and stuff like that because he was the one who was basically teaching people how to officiate. So I learned like basketball through that lens. I mean, obviously I played basketball, but like the understanding the nuances and the fine details of basketball, I learned through um a referee viewpoint. So I understood what they was looking for and what is a foul and what isn't a foul. Like I know they don't want me mic'd up anymore because when I'm telling the ref like you can't lie to me because I know the same rule book So you know I'm so with that I feel like it gives me a mental advantage because I feel like that's why I'm so good on defense because I'm guarding within the rule book. So
Does it also help you, I guess, understand a different perspective of the referees overall? And it's really every sport. Referees, it's a very tough job because you are going to make mistakes and your mistakes are going to be magnified more depending on what happens and where you are in that. And I think at times referees get an unlucky reception from a lot of fans. They take their frustration out of it. But from you personally, probably having seen it and understanding it more, do you get a different perspective than the average player who wouldn't have been through what you had?
I would say I probably don't get as mad at the referees as some players do.
Mm.
Understanding that they gonna make a call that probably wasn't the right call, but at the end of the day, they made it. Now, in the heat of the moment, like when I'm in foul trouble because I'm going a vertical and y'all calling fouls and I'm clearly not fouling them. Now, that's something different. But for me, I'll have a conversation with them. Ask them a simple question, keep it short, sweet, and simple. What are you seeing? And I'm gonna tell you, and we're gonna have a quick conversation, whether it be at a end of the timeout or at a free throw line. And at the end of the day, we're gonna speak as men and we're gonna keep it moving. So for me, it's like I know seeing how my dad interacted with people who would talk to him crazy, like it's no ain't no point. So, at the end of the day, I gotta move on.
When was the idea then that you wanted to play basketball? Was there any thoughts at all of potentially going down the path and doing referees as well?
Nah, nah, never refereeing. I was either gonna play basketball or football.
I did see that you're a bit of a quarterback as well growing up. So when was the decision that you know what I can play basketball at the highest level? And I know that ended up getting to Oklahoma, which is a pretty prestigious school in the states.
Well, I knew early I could have, if depending on what I chose, I knew I was going to end up doing at a high level. It was just a matter of which one I like more. Um, and I had got hurt my freshman summer, and I ended up missing uh my sophomore year of like the football training camp. So I just stopped playing football after that and just switched to basketball.
When is the basketball? When does Oklahoma come into that? Because again, we know it's a big school, but it potentially, I mean, growing up there, I'm assuming that was there any more pressure on that, or was just all excitement to be able to go to such a great school so close to home?
It was no pressure. I got introduced to the coaches, the Oklahoma coaching staff, my freshman year of high school because they were recruiting a senior on my team who ended up committing there as well. So through watching him, they saw me, and that's how that relationship started. For me, it didn't. It's not like I grew up an OU fan. I actually grew up an OSU fan. So I grew up going to OSU to watch my brother play football up there, and I committed to OU after my sophomore year of high school, and then I just stuck with that commitment throughout my high school, and then signed my NLI.
When you get to Oklahoma and you're a Sooner, when you look back on your college career now, what are some of your fondest memories, and what are you most proud of having achieved there?
Um, I would say probably my biggest achievement is beating Kansas. We beat Kansas, I believe, twice. And Kansas is one of the blue bloods of college basketball. So anytime that you can beat them and beating them and then playing well against them, whether that be at home or at Allen Fieldhouse, which is like one of the most legendary places to play, which is it's a surreal place too. Like it's great. It's just great to go there. Um, and then I would say being first team all conference as well.
You had some pretty big teammates as well, probably none bigger than Trey Young. Did you know then that he would be capable of what he's achieved so far now in the NBA?
Yeah, I knew. I grew up with Trey. Like we're both from Oklahoma. He's like 40. He grew up like 40 minutes from me. So the thing with like Oklahoma is all the top talent always that you grew up playing with the best. Like if you good, then you're gonna be on the best team. And the best team got all the best kids. And so through grade school, through high school, we always played together.
Where do you sit then on the other side of the world and you see when he gets snubbed from an All-Star game? Does that still annoy you as someone who grew up with him?
I mean, it don't annoy me in the sense like I want to go fight somebody. I feel I feel bad that he didn't get the acknowledgement that he deserves. But it's not like I'm finna go like you know rage because he didn't get an award.
Once you've decided that you're graduating and to go professional, tell us a little bit about that decision and where you ended up. And I guess what first came out to get overseas, because a lot of guys we see now, new imports who come into the league, potentially it's their first time leaving America when they arrive to the NBL. But as you mentioned, you've been around the world already.
Yeah, well, the year I graduated was COVID, so we didn't get to play our conference tournament or the March Madness. So it was like from the conference championship, it was like, well, now you're pro. Like, so now you're automatically like, well, you're done playing. So from then it was like I had to finish school. I had like a month left of school, and then like the whole finding an agent process, which I was already in before I graduated. So by the time I graduated, I knew who I wanted to sign with. And then I went to go work out at Impact in Las Vegas, and I was out there for like 7 months.
Sheesh.
Uh, so and then the quarantine and stuff like that. So we was from like the beginning of COVID through the when they started lifting restrictions. You didn't have to wear masks and stuff like that. So it was just all basketball for 7 straight months. And then I ended up going to Puerto Rico. They had a bubble, like which was a 2 month stint. Won a championship there, and then I went to the G League bubble down in Orlando after the NBA had their bubble there. They brought us there to play like the remainder of the season, and then the G League playoff. And then after that, I just been going all over the place.
What was the bubble experience like looking on it now? Because having lived through it differently, I mean, we had our own challenges to get through here in Australia. But when you're trying to play basketball at the highest possible level and going through all of that, is it what's the word to use, I guess, to describe how you went through it looking back at it now?
I was good. I got food, my laundry cleaned, I had a big TV, I had a game system, and I got to play basketball every day. I mean, nah, because I'm an introvert, so I don't need a whole crowd of people to, you know, be around. Or I got my teammates, so when I see them, we eating lunch or something, or we in the team room, playing the game. But other than that, I was cool. I was in Florida. The weather was nice, and then even when I was in Puerto Rico, I was on a resort. So I mean. It can't get it wasn't too bad, and then same I'm getting paid to play basketball. Well, I was good. Some other people was like, "Oh, it was, the worst part ever, worst time ever," which it might be for them, but wasn't tripping.
I think that's the mindset a lot of us needed around there
Yeah.
because it's exceptionally well put. So going back to how you said you didn't know much about Australia when you arrived. In particular, I want to talk about your teammate now in Bryce Cos. Did you know much about Bryce Cos before you arrived? And did you have any moment in the first few weeks where you realized how special this guy is?
No, I never heard I didn't hear of VC or, and before I got here. I hadn't heard of any,
Yeah.
Australia. I mean, I knew Ben Simmons. I knew Ben Simmons was Australian. But, or like Patty Mills, like I knew y'all had people in Australia who played basketball who was in the NBA, but in terms of like the NBL itself, I hadn't heard of it. I mean, that's not a slight towards the NBL. I'm just I'm not in touch with the world, I guess. But when I got here, I saw in like the first game, like first couple games, couple practices, like, oh yeah, he one of them ones, and he turns out he won back-to-back MVPs. He's on a tremendous run right now, and he makes everything we do a whole lot easier. But in a sense, like teams are still trying to deny him. They full face guarding him 94 feet. They sending different people at him throughout the whole game, and it still somehow end up with 30.
He's He's truly one of one. I say in the most endearing way possible, but he's just an absolute freak, and it's the biggest compliment there is. So when you first arrived at Australia, then, and maybe you knew a bit about Australia in terms of wildlife or whatever it was from growing up or schooling, is there any one moment maybe in the first few weeks where you realize, oh, this is definitely how Australia was mentioned to me growing up? Was it spiders or any of that?
Nah, cause that was the only question I asked about before I came over here was like the insects and the the stuff, the big snakes and crocodiles and all that stuff. But when I saw a kangaroo, that's when I knew it was like, yeah, it's Australia.
What do you get up to then when you're not on the court? And again, I know now we said at the start that your little one's taking a nap. How is it juggling a family with a 9-month-old, soon to be 10-month-old, whilst playing professional basketball on the other side of the world?
It can be challenging just because Um, it's new. Like I mean, my first kid, so I'm not used to, having additional responsibilities outside of basketball. And then, having a family here as well, it's more than just basketball. Like we go on walks, we go different places to eat. We just do things as a family, which is is nice. But and it can be challenging, like waking up early, going through teething, like having to understanding that you're gonna be on a schedule because he has to be on a schedule. And but it's honestly probably the best thing that's ever happened because with him being on a schedule, it requires me to be more tenuous to what I do as well. And it negates a lot of time that most people would normal people slack off throughout the day whenever they have free time. But for me, I have to be, conscious of how much time I have before I have to go do something else. And I feel like it's made me focus more.
Have you had any time with solo or with the family to get out and see any parts of Australia?
No,
Is that
no.
on your list, or you happy with where you are?
To travel Australia?
Or just to go and maybe want to see some extra things maybe when the season ends, or do you just head off straight away?
Nah, I go because I play year round. So, time is money. So I usually leave within like a day or two. Whenever I'm playing, I might get an extra 2, 3 days at home before I go fly somewhere else.
And I know you spoke a bit on that podcast we alluded to earlier about the potential. We talk about the free agency and the mutual interest in potentially coming back. And as you said, this is a professional industry where you got to look at everything and kind of weigh everything up. And I also was reading and understood that there was talk about potential in the long term of citizenship. Was that ever? Could you ever imagine that that was even going to be a potential possibility? You could find a place that you love so much that you could end up being there for a long term.
Uh, well, yeah, that's how I feel about Puerto Rico, just because of the time I've already spent there and winning championships there, and the camaraderie that I built with the organization, the leader, the owner, the coaches, the general manager and stuff like that. But with that situation being up in the air right now, just the personnel change, it causes me to really have to reassess everything. They had mentioned Australia, Perth had mentioned, me potentially being able to become a citizen, if I spent X amount of time here. Right now it's just with having a family, it's like right now I gotta go what's gonna pay the bills, because it's not just me anymore. So, the money that might be good for me no more is not good for a family of three. So I just got to keep that into consideration. Business is the part of basketball that I hate. I just want to play basketball, but at the same time, I got to do my due diligence, not only for myself but for my family as well. And so, I'm in talks with Perth right now, in terms of see if we can meet somewhere, just get eye to eye. But that's for my agent to handle. Me personally, I don't like doing contract negotiations because it can cloud the water, cloud the air. Because I'm someone that has to give my entire focus to something for me to be my best at it. And right now, I just want to play basketball.
You do seem like that type of Bryce, obviously, has been in the headlines for his free agency all season long, where you understand that, as you said, it's a business part of it, and you're in the mind of, you know what, my agent's going to deal with that. I'm just trying to win a championship, and you're focusing on that very well. So, on that thought of potentially winning a championship, how excited are you for what this team can achieve, and what kind of challenge will Melbourne United bring in the semi-final series?
I'm very excited for this matchup. Regardless of who we was gonna play, I was gonna be excited because we one step closer to our ultimate goal, which is a championship. And I love the playoffs because it's time. It's time to put actions behind words. It's about who's gonna be the most disciplined, and that's what Melbourne forces you to be disciplined. Attention to detail. You have to understand the person. Their traits of the players that they got on their team, who likes to do what, the tendencies, and understanding that they're gonna challenge you. They're gonna be solid on offense and defense. It's gonna come down to really how you beat them is you got to make plays. They're gonna force. You're gonna see real quick on what they're gonna make you have to beat them with, and you gotta. It's gonna be a matter of can you do it or not. Um, so I'm up for the challenge, and I know my team will be too.
I've asked all the Perth Wildcats guys that I've spoke to on the huddle this season. So I got to ask you, take out RAC Arena and the Red Army. What's your favorite road trip or favorite venue to play in, whether it's crowd related or whether it's the hotel you're staying? You've got to have one.
I like I like Sydney's. I like Sydney's arena just because um just because of how open it is. And I like Illawarra's too, because that reminds me of like a college gym. It's kind of not the biggest, but it's compact and it's gonna get loud. And because of how the fans there are, like they get into the game, and they're chanting, they're screaming, they gonna yell some stuff at you. They gonna let you know that they there. But for me, I love that. That's how I grew up playing. That's how you know inner city public basketball is. The crowd is into the game, talking mess, but it creates an atmosphere that makes it a big game. And that's what it's like every time over there.
I'm glad you said Illawarra because you do have a potential to play them with just Sydney because that story's done. No shade at the Sydney Kings.
Yeah, no, I'll,
The
yeah.
season is over. Mate, thank you so much for jumping on and good luck. Good luck for the break. Hopefully you get some nice time with the family and then good luck for the championship aspirations.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.